Princess Leonor of Spain is only 18, but the way she looked during that military appearance this week told a completely different story. Not nervous, not excited, just heavy, like someone who already understands that every smile, every pause, every tiny mistake is being recorded as history before she's even had the chance to become a normal young woman. And honestly, that's the part one think most people are missing right now. Everybody keeps talking about the uniform, the photos, the future queen image, but I keep asking myself something else. What does it actually feel like to realize your entire life stopped belonging to you before adulthood even began? Because this isn't celebrity pressure. This isn't influencer pressure. This is dynastic pressure. And the reason I think Leonor's story is exploding in 2026 is because people her age are quietly seeing themselves in her, even if their lives look nothing alike. Think about it. Prince William spent decades slowly growing into the role. Even King Felipe had years to evolve away from cameras before becoming king. But Leonor, Spain basically pressed fast forward on her entire adulthood. One day she's a teenager trying to survive exams and friendships, the next she's standing in military formations while global media zooms in on her facial expressions like they're decoding state secrets. And here's my hot take. I don't think the palace is trying to make Leonor look perfect anymore. I think they're trying to make her look resilient. That's a completely different strategy. Because perfection feels fake in 2026. Resilience feels believable, and that shift, it changes everything. If you're new to Leonor's story, subscribe, I post every day. Now here's where things get interesting. While Prince William and Kate Middleton still represent that polished royal tradition in Britain, garden parties, ceremonial calm, carefully controlled elegance, Leonor's image is starting to feel more like controlled survival. Spain's monarchy isn't selling fantasy anymore. They're selling endurance. And weirdly, it's working. You can actually see it in the public reaction. People aren't obsessed with Leonor because she's unreachable. They're obsessed because she looks like someone carrying pressure in real time. That's why clips of her walking silently, adjusting her posture, or giving those quick controlled smiles keep going viral. People aren't just watching a princess. They're watching someone trying not to crack under expectations. And maybe I'm overanalyzing this, but I don't think I am. Because there was one specific moment recently that really stood out to me. During a public appearance, Leonor smiled for cameras, but the second she thought attention moved away, her expression dropped instantly. Not dramatically, just exhaustion, the kind people her age know very well. That, I can't turn off responsibility, look. And once you notice it, you can't unsee it. Now compare that to how social media treats young women in power today. Every detail becomes content, every outfit becomes debate, every friendship becomes a theory. If Mr. Beast were running royal PR, and honestly this sounds ridiculous but stay with me, he'd probably tell the Spanish palace to lean even harder into showing the difficult side of Leonor's training because struggle creates emotional investment now. That's the internet era we live in. People trust effort more than image. And Leonor's military path may actually be the smartest thing the monarchy has done in years. Not because it makes her look strong. Because it makes her look human. That's a huge difference. See, old monarchies survived through mystery, distance, ceremony. Modern monarchies survive through emotional relatability. That's why Queen Letizia's reactions get analyzed, frame by frame. That's why people obsess over Kate Middleton's body language. That's why even Prince Harry became globally fascinating once people felt they were seeing emotional cracks behind palace walls. The audience changed. Now people want emotional access. And Leonor's pressure is becoming part of her identity in public. But here's the darker side nobody really talks about. What happens when someone becomes a national symbol before they even fully know themselves? Seriously, at 18, most people are still changing every 6 months. Your opinions shift, your friendships shift, your confidence shifts, you're allowed to experiment with identity. Leonor doesn't get that luxury. Imagine knowing that one awkward moment could become international news. Imagine every friendship needing security analysis. Imagine wondering whether people genuinely like you, or just like proximity to the future crown. That messes with a person psychologically. And I think the palace understands this more than they admit publicly. That's why they've become extremely strategic with how much emotion Leonor shows. Too cold, she feels robotic. Too emotional, headlines explode about weakness. So she exists in this impossible middle zone where she has to look disciplined, but still relatable. Confident, but never arrogant. Human, but never messy. Honestly, I don't envy her at all. And here's another thing I've noticed. The more pressure Leonor faces, the quieter she becomes publicly. That silence is fascinating to me because silence can mean two things. Either someone is carefully trained, or they're overwhelmed and protecting themselves. Maybe both, because when cameras follow you your entire life, silence becomes armor. I think that's why so many younger viewers connect to her even if they don't care about monarchy itself. This generation understands performance exhaustion. Everybody feels watched now. Everybody feels judged online. Everybody feels pressure to appear successful before they've even figured life out. Leonor accidentally became the royal version of that anxiety. And the palace may actually be benefiting from it politically. That's the uncomfortable truth. Because Spain's monarchy has faced years of criticism, scandals, and distrust. But Leonor represents a reset button. She represents discipline, youth, stability, sacrifice. Whether that's fair to her personally is another conversation entirely. Sometimes I wonder if she even gets space to fail privately. Like, can Leonor even have a bad week? Can she disappear emotionally for a month like normal teenagers do? Probably not. That pressure changes people. You can already see how measured she is during public events. Every movement feels calculated now. And yes, some of that is royal training. But some of it feels like self-protection too. And this is where my opinion probably becomes controversial. I think the palace knows Leonor's pressure is becoming part of her appeal. Not intentionally in a cruel way. But strategically, absolutely. Because audiences today are emotionally drawn to people carrying visible responsibility. It creates narrative gravity. It's the same reason people became fascinated watching young athletes handle fame early or why viewers obsess over child stars transitioning into adulthood. We're watching transformation happen live. That creates attachment. And Leonor's transformation is happening under one of the brightest spotlights on Earth. Meanwhile, social media keeps accelerating everything. One clip turns into 10 theories. One expression becomes proof of palace tension. One quiet moment suddenly becomes a viral TikTok analysis with dramatic music and millions of views. I honestly think royal life today is psychologically harder than it was 20 years ago. Back then, headlines disappeared after newspapers were thrown away. Now moments live forever. And for Leonor, forever started early. But let me say something important here because I think people forget this constantly. Leonor didn't create the system she was born into. She inherited it. That matters. Because sometimes online commentary crosses the line from analysis into treating her like a fictional character instead of a real young woman trying to survive impossible expectations. And ironically, that's why she keeps gaining sympathy. The harder the role looks, the more people emotionally root for her. Especially younger audiences. They see someone their age carrying historical expectations while still trying to look composed in public. That's compelling storytelling whether you support monarchy or not. And maybe that's the biggest lesson here. The future of monarchy in 2026 isn't really about crowns anymore. It's about emotional credibility. People no longer ask, are royals glamorous? They ask, are they real? And Leonor's entire public image right now feels built around answering that question. Not through interviews, not through speeches, but through visible pressure, through discipline, through sacrifice, through those tiny moments where the mask slips just enough for people to feel there's a real person underneath all the royal symbolism. That's powerful, but it's also dangerous, because when your value becomes tied to carrying pressure well, people stop asking whether you should be carrying that pressure at all. And honestly, that's the part of Leonor's story I keep thinking about after the cameras shut off. Not the uniforms, not the headlines, not the future crown, just the idea of being 18 years old, and already feeling responsible for protecting an institution older than entire countries. That's not normal pressure, that's historical pressure, and whether people admire monarchy or hate it, I think most can agree on one thing now. Princess Leonor isn't being shaped into a celebrity. She's being shaped into emotional infrastructure for the future of Spain itself. And that's a terrifying amount of weight for someone still learning who she is.